Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC 265, Lewis versus Gane. Overall, we had no injustices, but we did have some scanty scorecards, as usual. Recently, there's been less robberies, as most people would call them, but I just call them injustices or really bad scorecards. But we have some, honorable mentions, scorecards that just don't look right, but overall the main dude won or the main girl won. All right, we'll start with the first fight, Leonardo versus Gato. Again, this is in the honorable mentions category, so everyone who won was supposed to win, and that's what matters mostly, but this is me being annoying and nitpicking as usual. On my scorecard, this fight ended in a TKO, but as reviewing this, Judge Danny De Alejandro gave Leonardo the first round. That was kind of confusing because in the first round, while Gato got a takedown, multiple submission attempts with a little bit of ground and pound, Leonardo had two reversals. She had a little bit of ground and pound also, but Gato was mostly active from the bottom. All right, that first round was, I think, very easy to score because Gato was active throughout the entire fight. I think this is a really bad scorecard, but it's fine. The person, I don't, it's funny. I don't want to actually say the right person won because this went to a TKO, broken arm situation, Dr. Stoppage. So I won't say the right person won, but the right person won. That's how it usually goes now. So the honorable mention goes to Danny De Alejandro for that first round he gave to Leonardo. All right. Now we're going to get to like some more closer rounds. Some rounds that I thought were a little more closer. The second honorable mention is Morales versus Rodriguez. Now I had it 30-27 for Morales. But that first round was very close. Very close. As I was scoring this, I wouldn't be mad if somebody else gave it to Rodriguez. And the judges had it. Kerry Hadley had it my way, 30-27. Alejandro, he had it 29-28. We'll get back to him in a second. And Doug Crosby had it 29-28 for Morales. So all three had it for Morales. Now, the round that I think is the closest is the first round. It's very close. Very, very, very close. I gave the edge to Morales, but it's very close. The other two judges had it my way also. So they saw it the way I saw it, which was the edge given to Morales. It's the second that kind of missed me a little bit. The second is the one that missed me. So in that second round, Morales outstrikes Rodriguez, and he drops Rodriguez. He drops him. But then Rodriguez gets 3 takedowns. Now, I would understand. Now, if you're thinking about this and you didn't watch it, you're probably thinking, oh, he got 3 takedowns, therefore he wins the round. No, because these 2 takedowns were, they were already clinched up and he just kind of returns them to the ground. One of them was a full takedown, but none of them, he did nothing with all 3 takedowns. No ground and pound whatsoever. To me, this round goes to Morales 100%. And so we have 2 honorable mentions here, and that's for, again, De Alejandro, and this time for Doug Crosby for giving round 2 to Rodriguez. All right, our third honorable mention is the one that, I was kind of miffed when I heard this, but I'm pretty sure a bunch of people online were going crazy when they heard this also. This one, it was Green versus Fiziev. My scorecard was 29-28 Fiziev. Chris Lee also had it 29-28. Saul D'Amato had it 29-28. And Joshua Ferrero had it 30-27. Now, I don't think I have to explain why this is obviously a 29-28 for Fiziev. In that third and final round, okay, Bobby Green outstruck him badly. I mean, badly. If somehow, some way, he had won that first round, he would have won the fight. In fact, I almost scored it for Green in that first round. And the reason why I almost scored it for Green in that first is because if you watch that first very carefully, Fiziev is just throwing leg kicks. Now, the reason why he wins is because he throws a shit ton of leg kicks and essentially just, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but gives the optic that he's winning the fight. But Green is, in a way, outstriking him by head strikes. I mean, he's hitting his head, and Fiziev, I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again, is just blasting leg kicks. But he blasts so many leg kicks. I think that if you take maybe 10 or 8 to 10 leg kicks off of Fiziev, Green probably wins that round, barely. Who knows how they would have scored it. But Fiziev throwing so many leg kicks wins him that first round. Who knows if he had changed it, if it would have been different. But there's no contention in the fact that last round is 100% Bobby Green's. And honorable mention to Joshua Ferrero for, giving Fiziev a 10-9. I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, which was I looked online before recording this, and I saw that there was a headline on MMA Junkie that said something to the effect of Texas judge responds for his bad scorecards. By the way, I think Texas gets a terrible amount of crap for their bad scorecards. Yes, I think their scorecards are really bad, but we all know deep in our hearts that the worst scorecards come out of Vegas, boxing and MMA. Sorry, I don't care who hears this. The worst scorecards come out from Vegas. And I saw his explanation, and he gave the explanation something to the effect of, in that third round, Fiziev hit Green with the heavier shots. Now, here's why that argument doesn't stand, is he was outstruck by a lot. And there was a point where, and even if you wanted to use that argument, there was a point where Fiziev stopped throwing strikes because he was so overwhelmed by Bobby in that third round. He also gave the explanation that, hey, 30-27 is an acceptable scorecard. That's baloney. That's bullshit. It's not an acceptable scorecard. He said a fellow judge told him that. Now, I don't know if he's saying one of the two Vegas judges told him that, because I could probably understand why he's okay with that, because it's two Vegas judges. But it's just not an acceptable scorecard. You can't make an argument there. You just can't. It's not 30-27. Now, here's why I think they told him 30-27 is acceptable, because at the end of the day, the right person won, right? So it doesn't, like, us as MMA fans and people who watch this, yes, we're thinking, man, 30-27, what the hell? What's going on? But in the back of our heads, we go, okay, the right person won, so whatever, who gives a fuck? And I think that's the commission's deal, is as long as the right person won, we kind of don't care. But in my head, that's why I have this honorable mention slot, because I don't give a fuck who won. I don't care if this was a 5-round fight, if Fiziev won 4 of the rounds and then lost the 5th round and they scored it 50-45. I don't care. I want it scored correctly, because one of these days, and I've said it before, someone's going to fuck up. and score around incorrectly. And we've seen it in Vegas. We've seen it in the Apex with the Paiva fight. People going, hey, that's a 10-8. When it's not a 10-8, it's obviously a 10-9. And massive amount, just a lot of examples of people being judges, thinking one round is this way and one round is this way. 30-27 is not acceptable by any standard of the imagination. It's not. It's not acceptable, nor would it ever be acceptable. If any judge here scored the first for green, I wouldn't have been mad at it. Because at least there you can make some sort of weird pseudo argument, pseudo or non-pseudo, where, hey, Fiziev is getting outstruck, like his head, like he's getting punched in the face, or someone going, I value the leg kicks more than Green punching his face. At least there we can have like some sort of bigger argument about what's more effective and what do we value more. But you can't give me a lengthy argument talking about Joshua Ferrero. You can't give me a lengthy argument saying Bobby got hit in the head really hard in the third and shook his head. Newsflash, he got hit in the head throughout the entire fight and shook his head the whole fight. So what are you talking about? Yes, he got hit hard. We saw the fight. But then Fiziev got hit 20 more times. It's just what it is. Okay, this isn't, I believe, when I saw his argument, it reminded me of a fight back at the Apex. This was Dolidze versus Giles, where I had Dolidze winning. I had Dolidze winning that fight. But somehow the argument turned and Giles won the fight. I think it was a split D, I don't remember. But somehow the argument turned into Giles hit the heavier shots. And I was thinking to myself, I don't like that argument, but I'm not mad at it because the strikes thrown were very few, I believe. I think there were very few. Obviously, I didn't like the argument, but still, that argument was more sound than this fight, where I think 100 strikes in total were thrown in this round. In total, Bobby having the most of them by a large margin. So, and if it's not 100, it's probably maybe 80 or so, or 60. But in that Dolidze Giles fight, the strikes weren't even close to that. So that argument is totally different. So Fiziev hit him with heavier shots. I don't even like that already because we're now quantifying what's heavy and what's more, which one causes more damage. Fiziev getting hit 20 times in the head and then him stopping, him not throwing strikes anymore, or Bobby getting hit in the head one time really hard, shaking his head, and then still going forward. I'm confused there. I didn't like the explanation, and I thought it was, again, really bad scorecard. But overall, the right person won, so it didn't matter. All right, moving on. Now, another honorable mention. We had a split D. I think this might, again, I'm just talking to myself at this point. I really am talking to myself, but sometimes I feel like we complain about the wrong things. 30-27 is bad, and yes, that little loser in me is going, God, why the fuck did he score 30-27? But what pisses me off, I think, the most is the next honorable mention, which is we had Yadong versus Kenney, a split D that shouldn't have been a split D. This might have been this is on par with Venata versus Grundy, where we all knew in our heads, okay, Venata just won, like, I forgot how I scored it, maybe 30-27, 29-28, maybe. And somebody gave him 30-27 Grundy, right? It's on par with that because, and I'll read out the scorecards. I had 30-27, Yadong. Okay. Chrisley had it 30-27. Dude, I'm hitting it. Me and Chris Lee are on a wavelength today, dude. It's great. Saul D'Amato. We'll get to him. 29-28. Okay. And then Kerry Hatley. I'm sorry. Saul D'Amato had a 29-28 for Yadong. And then Kerry Hatley had a 29-28 for Kenney. So let's start with Saul, because I'm fucking confused. He gave the first to Kenney. Yadong outstruck Kenney. It's just what it is. It's not close. I didn't even put the close marker on it, right? For the Morales first and the green first, I put the close markers on it, and then the Aldo first. I'll get to that in a second, but I put the close markers on there to where just another thing to mark down. When I put like a close marker on something, or I say it was close, I'm not mad if the scorecard looks different in that round. But in this, it's not even close. Like, Yadong outstruck Kenney. It's just what it is. And he outstruck Kenney in the first, and 2 judges gave it to Kenney somehow. Okay. So, honorable mention to Saul D'Amato for that first one. And then, okay, so we have, and then Kerry Hatley did the same thing, giving the first to Kenney. This is one of those fights that pisses me off, right? Because this happened at the Apex a lot, where 2 rounds will look exactly identical. And I know what you're thinking. Hey, no round is identical. You're right. No round is identical, but it is identical. Where fighters will do what they did in the first, and the other fighter will do what they did in the first. And whoever was winning that round in the first, whoever threw the most strikes, whoever landed the most strikes, won that round. Whoever landed the most strikes again in the second round won. Okay, but here's what's funny. The judges will score it differently. So, here's what's confusing. Round 1 and 2 are the same. Obviously, it's not the same round. You know what I just explained it. They give 2, being Saul D'Amato and Kerry Hatley. They give round 2 to Kenney. To Yadong. And then in 3, Kerry Hatley gives the third round to Kenney. Now, I have my notes here. In that third round, Kenney got a takedown like at the very end. At the very end. But in this round, it wasn't the same as 1 and 2. Round 1 and 2 are not the same. They're just not. They're not the same. Now, Kenney got the takedown, I believe, at the very end. At the tail end. Okay, fine. Doesn't matter. Nothing deep there. But in this third round, Yadong was outstriking him comfortably. It wasn't the first 2 where it's somewhat, like, the numbers are closer. On 1, they're closer. I'll rephrase that. On 2, they're actually probably closer than they are on 1. But on 3, there's much more separation. And that takedown, yes, he got a takedown, but this wasn't like the fight is dead even. Here's a takedown that changes the math. No, this is like you were still being outstruck by plenty, and then you just got a takedown. It doesn't really matter. Kerry Hatley gives him the round there. I don't like that. This is terrible. It's it's a lot going on. So honorable mention to Saul D'Amato and Kerry Hatley. Then we go to another fight that should have been scored pretty easily, and that's Tisha Torres versus Angela Hill. I had a 30-27 for Torres. Jeff Rexroad, the guy. I'm only saying the guy because I don't know. Again, just like Chris Lee, when I see judges' scorecards that reflect mine, I'm pretty cool. And now, I know, it sounds a little pompous. I think I've addressed this, which is, my scorecard is the ultimate. No, obviously not. There's some rounds that are pretty close, so I understand that. But there's some rounds that are just definite, that are just exact, right? To where, like, if you polled the people, they would go like, 90% of people would poll it this way. I think that's my point. I'm not like the people's champ, but I'm pretending my scorecard is reflective of the people. It sounds douchey, but you get where I'm pointing at. Jeff Rexroad has a 30-27. Jacob Montalvo has it 29-28. And then Doug Crosby has a 30-27. So we have two 30-27s here. This isn't even, this shouldn't be a thing. This is two 30-27s. Okay? And Rex Road somehow decides, hey, you know what? You know what we're gonna do? I'm going to give Angela Hill a round. There's no need for that. There's no need for that at all. And in this round, in round 2, Tisha just outstruck Hill. There's nothing else to add. She just outstruck her, and Montalvo somehow saw it differently. Okay. Honorable mention for Jacob Montalvo. All right, and then I believe we have the last honorable mention. Just before I get into this last honorable mention, I'll touch on the Lewis and Gane thing really quick. I'm glad I didn't see any 10-8s. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, fuck, they might give it 10-8s because of the numbers. But then I remember the judges don't get the numbers. They just watch the fights as they are. They feel out the process and things like that. Obviously, there was nothing that elicited a 10-8 in there, unless Derek left out of that third. Then we might have seen something different. But there's that. All right, and then the last honorable mention was Aldo versus Munoz. That first round was very close. Very close. I scored it for Munoz. I thought he mixed in the leg kicks pretty well. And he was throwing some nice strikes in there as well. I'm not mad at if they scored it for Aldo. Obviously, they all scored it for Aldo. But I leaned Munoz in that first one. My scorecard was 29-28. Obviously, I gave the last 2 rounds to Aldo, and the first I gave to Munoz. All 3 judges had a 30-27. I'm actually surprised at that. But I'm actually not mad at that, and I'm pretty cool with that. Overall, great night of fights. I know we complain about the scorecards, but nothing, just tiny little niggles here and there, but nothing too serious, so everything is well. Once again, thank you for listening, and God bless.